Hi everyone, this will be your video for reference angles. We're going to go over why we need them, how to use them, and then an example showing it. So let's just start off with why do we need reference angles? So for instance, the times that you cannot use a unit circle, you're going to need a reference angle. So here we go. You have that in words here. This is a great time to pause, write this down. It's important to know when you're going to need a reference angle. So now that we know when we're going to need them, now we need to know how to use them. So when we're working with a reference angle, we're always focusing on our x-axis. So you can see how we're always going to be focusing on some sort of movement either in the negative direction or away or up and to the right from our x-axis, down and below. You can see that we're going to have a little variety going on here. So a little bit of info for this slide. You can see that your regular angle or the full angle we're measuring is the one highlighted or shaded in green. And then the reference angle is the one in red. So red reference. So what we're going to do here is if we know that we're going to be in quadrant 1, what we do with our reference angle is we're going to take 0 plus our reference angle. So theta prime means reference angle. If we knew that our answer was in quadrant 2, we're going to take 180 minus our reference angle. So this might seem a little strange, but really what you're going to be doing is you're starting here from your x-axis, which is the value of 180, if you look on your unit circle, and we're going to be moving in the negative direction. So we're going to subtract our reference angle. And when we do that, we'll find our regular value. Moving on to quadrant 3, we're going to still use that 180, but you can see now we're going to be moving in a positive direction, so it's going to be plus our reference angle. And over here for quadrant 4, we're going to start again at our x-axis here, and we're going to move in the negative direction with our reference angle, so we're going to subtract. So we're going to start at 360, and we're going to subtract our reference angle. So this again is a very important slide. I suggest pausing, writing this down. This is what you're going to be referencing when you're using your reference angles. All right, so here's our equation. You're going to see problems similar to this under the factoring trig equation section, and you're going to see that we're going to be needing our unit circle and also a reference angle. So the first thing I want to show you is an incorrect way to solve this. So this is incorrect. So do not write this down. Don't mimic this. I just want you to notice what is wrong. So if you see this, most of the times, some students will be like, okay, I think that I can divide both sides by tangent of x, and when I do, it's going to cancel out on this side, and it'll cancel out on this side, and I'm going to end up with a -1. So I would end up with 8 cosine of x equals -1. So this is an okay idea, but this isn't correct. The problem is when you're dividing this tangent, it's canceling and it's going away and you're losing all of the information that tangent was giving us. So we can't just eliminate a trig function. What we can do is we can try to factor it out and solve it separately from our cosine. But like I said, we can't just cancel it out. It does not work like that. You can divide by coefficients or values, but you cannot divide by trig functions. So let's get rid of this incorrect answer, and we're going to start on the right path here. Okay, so when we're looking at our problem here, the first thing that we're going to see is that we just want all of our terms on one side, so I'm going to add tangent of x to both sides. Now I can't really combine it with my 8 cosine of x tangent of x, but I can just write it on the same side, so plus tangent of x equals 0. Now I can see that I have two terms. I have 8 cosine of x, tangent of x is my first term, just tangent of x is my second. So I want to try to factor, and I can. If I take this tangent of x to the front, this is just kind of like factoring it out, putting it in the front, and I can see that what's left over would be 8 cosine of x plus 1 equals 0. So this is great. If you're ever at a point where you don't know if you factored correctly, just distribute back in, and if you get this line, the previous line, you're good. So now we have two factors. We're going to set them both equal to 0, so we have tangent of x equals 0, and 8 cosine of x plus 1 to equal 0. So tangent of x equals 0, that one is just, it's done right now. And let's just work a little bit further on this one. We're going to have 8 cosine of x equals negative 1, and then cosine of x equals negative 1/8. So we just need to determine, can we use our unit circle or are we going to need a reference angle? So for tangent of 0, we can use our unit circle. Okay, and we know that if we're looking on our unit circle, we know that tangent equals sine over cosine. So if I can find any sine values of 0, that's going to give me a tangent value of 0. So sine needs to be 0. We're going to be able to use our unit circle. We'll do that on the next slide. Now for our cosine of negative 8 over here, we're going to need a reference angle. So we need a reference angle. And the reason why is that negative 1/8 is not on our unit circle. So we can't find it just by looking and going around the circle there. So we're going to need a reference angle. So on the next slide, we're going to break these two pieces of information down. So here we go. We had tangent of x equals 0. That was one piece of our answer. And cosine of x equals negative 1/8. That was our second value we found. So tangent of x equals 0. Like I said, tangent equals sine over cosine. So we want to find the times that our sine value is 0. It doesn't even matter what our cosine value is. So looking at our unit circle, let me pull one in here. Okay, so we have our unit circle. Let's get that in the screen. There we go. All right, so when we're looking at our unit circle, like I said, we're trying to find the times when sine is 0. So starting at 0, we already have an answer, 0 degrees. We're going around this. We're looking all the times that our sine value is 0. Remember, sine is your y coordinate. We have another one over here at 180 degrees. And that's about it. So we have 0 degrees and 180 degrees. That's going to be the first piece of our answer. So we have x equals 0 and also x equals 180. So now we need to deal with this cosine to the negative 1/8. So this piece is done. Okay, so first we need to determine quadrants. So we need to determine quadrants using your ASTC. Okay, so this little notation here, ASTC, that's telling us that all trig functions are positive here, sine trig functions are positive here, tangent is positive here, and cosine is positive here. So since we're looking for a negative cosine value, we're going to look for the times when cosine is not positive. So since cosine is positive in quadrant 1 and 4, our solution is going to be in quadrants 2 and 3. So let's write that out in words so you understand where that's coming from. So since our cosine is negative, our values will be in quadrants 2 and 3. Okay, so that's great. Now we also need to find our reference angle. Okay, so to find reference angle, we're going to find the cosine to the negative 1 of 1/8. Okay, so notice how this is positive. We did not plug in negative 1/8 here. We use the negative to decide our quadrants. We use the value to decide our reference angle. So we're going to plug this into a calculator, and I'm going to get 82.8 degrees. Okay, and I do want you to remember that, notice that this is positive. This is always positive. Okay, no matter what, it's always going to be positive. So we have our reference angle, we have our quadrants. Let's go to the next slide to see what we're going to do with them. All right, so here we are. We know our reference angle now. We found it by finding cosine to the -1 of 1/8, not -1/8. And now we just need to reference our quadrants we decided on. So we decided on 2 and 3 because those are the two quadrants where cosine was negative. So what we're going to do is remember what we need to do here. So in quadrant 2, you're going to take your 180 degrees and you're going to subtract your reference angle. For quadrant 3, we're going to take 180 degrees and we're going to add our reference angle. So when we do that, we're going to have 180 minus 82.8, and then we're also going to have 180 plus 82.8. So the two values that we get here are 97.2 and then also 262.8. So you can see at the bottom of the screen, I already pulled through, we had answers from tangent of x equals 0. We had our solutions from that half. And now we also have our solutions from this piece. So 97.2 and then also 262.8. So these four pieces would be part of your solution. And like I said earlier on, if you had canceled out that tangent, you would be missing at least 2 of these. So you want to make sure that you're not canceling out any trig functions, you're using your reference angles when you need to, and you're using your unit circle when you can. If you have any questions, obviously please feel free to reach out, and I look forward to hearing from you.